Hi everyone, and welcome to ESL Level 3-4. This week's topic is health. We're going to talk about health. We're going to talk about giving advice. We're going to talk about some academic questions, how to respond to complete sentences, some common symptoms of illness, and review some of our verbs. There's a fun little video in here if you'd like to watch. It talks about a basic conversation with the doctor, brings in a lot of the typical things that you can expect when you go to the doctor's office. All right, but let's talk about some slang expressions and confusing words first. So we can nurse someone back to health, or catch a cold, or I hope you get well soon, or the doctor gave me a clean bill of health, or be well, right? So all of these are expressions that we use that are associated with the terms of health, right? So check those over, read out the definitions, and think about how could you use those in your own sentences. All right, this week we're going to really focus on giving advice, and we're going to either use have to, must, or should. And so we use these to talk about obligations or things that are necessary to do. So must and have are both used for obligation and are often very similar. They're followed by the infinitive. So I must go now, or I have to go now. I must call the doctor. I have to call the doctor, etc. So we'll look at some examples first, read them over to yourselves. Think about how the word have to in number 1 and number 2 is slightly different than how it's used in sentence number 3. And then we'll talk more about that as the lesson goes on. They have in here some fill in the blank questions where you can put in a different remedy or a fix or a suggestion, advice of what a certain person should do in a particular health situation. So we'll talk about those as we go through the slides, and we'll come back around to these. All right, first let's just talk about some of the symptoms that you might have. You could have a stomach ache, a fever over 100 degrees. That's not good. You could have a headache or a cough. You could have a running nose, or when you sneeze, choo! Sometimes your nose will also run. A lot of times they go together. We can have a sore throat. Oh, my throat hurts. Or, oh, horrible toothache. We've all been there. That's the worst. We could have diarrhea or even vomiting. Got to visit the bathroom for both of those, right? So we have here just a small picture of these different ailments or symptoms of illness. Match them to the picture, and if you look, there will be some lines that will pop up in your slide deck, but take your time to match them yourself first. And then on the next slide, they have some fill in the blank questions with either should, do, had, have, not, or check. So use the words to fill in the blanks, and the answers are on the following slide. Let's take a quick break, take a chill pill, relax, let your brain rest. We'll be right back with the rest of the lesson. All right, everyone, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your break. Let's get into some data, charts, and graphs. When we do this week, we want to talk about an emphasis on forming complete responses to academic questions. So we can borrow some words from our question to put in our response. We're going to make sure we have a capital letter, that our sentence makes sense. It has a complete thought with a subject and a verb, and that it ends in either a period, an exclamation point, or a question mark, right? So let's look at some different topics to practice this. So at first, we just have a diagram of the human brain, and it shows the different lobes of the brain, and within the different colors, you can see the different bodily functions that that lobe covers or controls. So speech and smell are controlled by the frontal lobe, but vision is controlled by the occipital lobe, right? So we process our vision actually in the back of our head, which is not obvious, right? But it is true. So they have some just simple examples for you here, like which brain lobe deals with motor control. The frontal lobe deals with motor control. Pretty basic and straightforward, right? Which abilities are controlled in the temporal lobe? Hearing and facial recognition are controlled in the temporal lobe, right? So we're just mirroring our question and our response to make a complete sentence. A lot of times in school, they want you to write it in a complete sentence. And what they mean is borrow some words from the question to add into your answer so I know exactly what you're saying in your answer. Don't just tell me yes or no or just a one-word answer, right? So we have another little example here where you can just fill in the blanks to practice this skill and, just kind of reflect how are we mirroring the question and the response, because that's the easy trick when you're in school is to mirror the question. All right, and then another little side bit that we're just going to run through very quickly because most people already know is your different body parts. So we have them in here a couple different ways. We have just your chart of all of your exterior body parts. Then we have the interior parts, the bones, the muscles, the veins and arteries, and the organs. You can click on this link at the bottom and it will take you to an interactive website where you can really see all of the inner body parts. It's very fascinating. And then we have just a review that has all of the outer body parts, including some of the more personal body parts. And on the next slide, they're blocked out so you can review yourself. Hey, do I know them? Like, what's this one? And what's this one right here? Or this one right there? Or this one right here, right? So quiz yourself, make sure you know them all, and feel comfortable. All right, so let's get on to giving some advice about our bodies, like if our bodies aren't feeling good, right? Just as a little tip that unwanted advice falls on deaf ears, which means that not everyone wants your advice. Some people do not want advice, especially about health things. So we always want to be mindful of that. You don't want to just go telling everybody what they should do, but we're going to imagine that people want our advice, right? So we're going to use this term should because we're going to give a helpful recommendation or an opinion. We might say, if you are sick, you should stay at home, right? That's helpful advice, right? That's my opinion. That's my recommendation. That's what we're going to look at here today. So let's look at a real life example though. So if you have poison ivy, just staying home, probably not enough, right? You need something to make you stop itching. So we're going to give some recommendations, but what sort of recommendations could we give? We can always use the sentence frame, you should do this, and then you should this. Or we can also use the sentence frame, I think you should do whatever. Well, let's look at some options of a good advice that we might give in some healthcare situations. We could tell someone to take or prepare a home remedy. I don't know, does that work for poison ivy? We could tell someone to buy an over-the-counter medicine, like calamine lotion maybe. We could tell someone to visit a doctor. Sometimes you have to go to the doctor. We could tell them to make an appointment, right, with the doctor, maybe next week. We could tell someone they need to go straight to the emergency room right now, right? Go right now. And then we have some more just colloquial things. We might say you should rest, you should ignore it, you should get that checked out, you should pray on it, or you should not worry, right? So we have a lot of different things when we give people advice. And so when we look at this lady here with the poison ivy, we could say, you should buy an over-the-counter medicine, and then you should put it on your skin, right? They have cream for that, right? Okay, but so we're going to look at some different examples of illnesses that people have. When you go to the doctor, they give you this long list, and they want you to check if you have it or you don't have it, right? So we're just going to look at what the people have checked that they have. So our first contestant here, he is coughing up phlegm. What do you think he should do? Should he rest? Should he make an appointment? Should he pray on it? Should he go straight to the emergency room? Your choice, right? Number 2, he says, I cough up blood. Well, does that change your opinion of what he should do? Should he rest? Should he not worry? Should he go straight to the emergency room? What's the difference between coughing up phlegm and coughing up blood, right? All right, we have another lady. She has dizziness, a noise in her ears, and a dental problem, right? Like a bad toothache. What should she do, right? Look at your options and think, what advice would you give her? Also, we have a poor man. He has a joint injury. He has hurt his knee. What should he do? We have this gentleman here. He has clicked that he has hair growth or loss, right? So he wants to see the doctor, maybe for some medicine. What should he do? How should that happen? What could the doctor help him with? Or where else could he go? This guy here, you see he's looking at his phone. He has insomnia. What is your advice? What should he do? And then this guy here, he has got some pretty bad symptoms. He has a headache, fainting spells, dizziness, and double vision. Oh, like something's going on in his head. What should he do? You give the advice, right? All right, that's the end for this week. If you're going to stick around for reading, we'll get started right here in a second. Thanks for always joining us, and we'll be right back with the reading. All right, welcome to reading. Thanks for coming back to join us. This week's article is Breast Cancer Test Better with Google Health AI from January 4th, 2020. All right, let's get into this. And this is from Breaking News English. So if you click on the link, it'll take you to the story and several activities. All right. Doctors have a new tool to diagnose breast cancer. It is called Google Health. The tool uses artificial intelligence, AI, to find anything abnormal in breast tissue. Researchers trained an AI program to find abnormalities. It read lots of results from x-rays over the past few years. Doctors currently use x-rays to detect breast cancer. Google Health will help doctors to read x-rays more accurately. The current system is that two doctors agree on whether or not an x-ray shows cancer. If they cannot agree, they ask a third doctor. Google Health will do this more quickly. All right, so we have some questions that go with this. So what type of cancer does this article discuss? What new technology is being used? And how would this new technology help people? You can write those in your own notebook or just think about them. All right, researchers from Google Health worked with experts from a London university to design the program. They input x-rays from more than 91,000 women in the UK and the USA into its software. This then produced an algorithm. In hospital tests, the algorithm did better at reading x-rays than 6 doctors. Google Health said, "Our team is really proud of these research findings, which suggests that we are on our way to developing a tool that can help doctors spot breast cancer with greater accuracy." The World Cancer Research Fund said 2 million new cases of breast cancer were reported in 2019. Wow, that is a lot, right? But the sooner you catch it, the better your chances are. So they have some more questions. What does the AI technology look for? How many x-rays were inputted into the algorithm? Did human experts or did the artificial intelligence do better at identifying cancer? Which one did better, human experts or the artificial intelligence? And how many new cases of breast cancer occurred in 2019? All those are in the story there. Also, there are 5 words that are pulled from the story: breast, abnormalities, x-ray, input, and algorithm. They have the definitions here. Read them over and then use the words to fill in the blanks. All right, thanks y'all for joining us. We'll see you next week. Enjoy your live meets with your teachers.